As I was saying in a previous video, when it comes to abuse, well, technically people classified it as male-based and female-based abuse. Now, when it comes to parents, this in a way is, representative of the male and the female. Now, I'm not a professional in this, and I was a bit in a hurry when I did the previous video, but the point is, well, when it comes to your mother, the abuse that your mother can do to you is usually the one that is harder to rid yourself of. Some people may not get over it, probably even in a few lifetimes, though obviously this is not, you know, boundary, okay? This is not bound to everyone. Whatever happened in previous lives is a matter of the past. Obviously, it doesn't matter anymore, it shouldn't matter more than the karma that you have and the impulses that you have. But as I said in the previous video, your father can do certain types of abuse, which is usually physical oriented, but when it comes to your mother, or let's actually say wounded feminine energy, because, well, a man can also have wounded feminine energy. After all, a sick society is represented by both of the energies being wounded. When the feminine energy is wounded, there are all of these narcissistic capacities that kick in, right? Like blackmail, pulling other people down, calling them names, calling them stupids, having them doubt their own sanity, right? Which is called gaslighting. All of these can have a very, very bad influence on people. I've been through this. If I think of my mother, well, most likely I'll still go through because, you see, if your parent is neglecting you when you are young, wait till you grow older. Because when you are young, you see, when a child is young, they're an easy target. Whatever the parent does, they will simply follow because they're full of love. They're full of disappointment, right? And shame and guilt if, they fail to do whatever the parents would ask of them. At times, they would go at great lengths to fulfill their parents' expectations. But dumb parents don't know that children also have expectations. And obviously, you will punish your children, because they don't meet your so-called dumb expectations. Because how can you call yourself a parent and have expectations of a 4-year-old to do their homework? Like, people call their small children failures if they don't do their homework by 8 or 10 years. Like, if you're giving children below 12 years of age homework and you're drowning them in that, like, by the age of 17, 18, they will simply want to commit suicide because basically they've lived the most of life. If by the age of 15 they are already drowned in homework, where's their childhood? Where's those moments where they need to play outside? I see people on Quora posting questions about should I let my child play Minecraft? It's like, dude, that's a game that every child should play. Now, obviously, like any game, it can have, some things that, I don't know. I doubt Minecraft can actually have anything that, would disturb a child. Considering the sickness in this society, all children may already have played shooter games and have seen, imitations of guts being thrown around and blood and such. After all, we live in a sick society, and it is good to, give those impulses a little bit of oiling, as I call it, right? You want to oil them a bit from time to time. Because it is better to vent off your frustrations in a video game rather than in reality, right? When you're constantly tortured and butchered emotionally and mentally, psychologically by dumb parents, dumb teachers, and such. Because, well, if your parents are dumb, most likely your teachers are also gonna be so because we live in an ignorant society. And you'll probably end up as a little monster that will most likely become the new generation of, law enforcers, of, judicial representatives, or I don't know, politicians maybe, and other people who have some impact or easy impact on other people's lives. When you have so much superficiality, people still expect the government to do things for them. But if your parents, the ones who gave you birth and who should have taken the most care of you, were most likely narcissistic fuckers, why would you expect the government to be less than that? Speaking about Romania, the country I live in, well, the fuckers out there give all sorts of rules and legislations against children, but they themselves don't have children. None of the fuckers in there actually have children. So it's funny how people without a family actually give, laws and legislations, to have children do this and do that and behave like this and behave like that. In a sick society, people don't want relationships. Obviously, you can see it by now because people speak about an interesting concept called social distancing. How the fuck can you be social and distant at the same time? That's a question to remember. See, this reminds me of a little story I read. I think it's Stanislaw Lem or Isaac Asimov. I don't remember exactly. But it's a short sci-fi story in which, a king on a faraway planet was very, intrigued about his followers. Was very suspicious of them. I don't remember if they were actually, gathering around and speaking badly of the king, or it was all a game in their mind, in the king's mind. But he ordered all his subjects to wear uranium-based earrings. Now, those weren't toxic for that kind of race, but the point is, uranium is unstable, and you can't have too much of it in the same place. So the problem was, in order for the subjects to speak one to another, they had to keep a very long distance, several meters or something like that. So that's another way of, calling this idea of social distancing. How can you be social and distant at the same time? This reminds me of all the dumb parents that became parents just because, they couldn't stop themselves from being horny. Now, being horny is not a bad thing because, as one would say, if our parents weren't horny at a certain moment, we wouldn't be here in this world. So, your horniness is your business, or your problem if you see it so. However you see it, that is up to you. It is everyone's choice. But in a sick society, everything is a problem. Even if you support the system, it's still a problem in a way because, shame and guilt are the best ways to rule people. And also, they come in parallel, right, with fear. Because you are shamed and guilted, right, if you don't follow the system. And even if you follow the system, you're still not good enough. So, again, shame and guilt. And at the same time, in parallel, also comes the fear of, being oppressed by the system. But a sick system will always keep you oppressed because basically what a sick system does, it is deprive you of your life, deprive you of who you are, of what you are, because that's technically what a slave is. Now, a slave works for others, but most likely because they are, kind of forced to, or they were born like that, right? A slave still has a sense of sentience in there. They may grow honor towards their towards their leader, right? But a traitor never does. Because a traitor is nothing else than a drone, a parasite. And a parasite is only about survival. Now, I'm not speaking about slaves, all of them being angels, but the point is, when it comes to slaves, they may have some discernment, more or less. They may even oppose their master. Traitors may also. But in order to have a traitor do something, you either threaten them, or you give them a better reward than they are already given. But, mark my words, if a traitor has betrayed once, they will betray twice. And they can never have enough. If you give them all the money in the world, most likely there will be someone else who can give them something more precious. And make sure that the next head on the tray that will be asked of most likely will be yours. And Who will be most pleased to deliver it? Well, most likely the traitor you have served and helped. Now, when it comes to parental abuse, well, this is something that I don't need to discuss upon. We all have been through more or less, abandonment and all sorts of these ideas. They're all one more despicable than the other. I don't need to make, interminable videos about this. There are already a lot of works out there, and, I don't need to quote any one of those. I mean, I don't need to speak out of people's experience. People most likely have experienced this. But this is just a video of introspection. Just ideas rolling around, and I put them on the internet. That's what videos with the title introspection serve anyways. So, all the good. Hopefully this video was introspective enough. You are appreciated. Take care. Ferenc Bor signing out.